All right, guys, we have to break this down, trying to figure out what may happen here going into tomorrow and possibly next week, as this market pretty much went vertical.
Perfect.
It gapped up almost every single day this week. And talking about the gaps, it's imperative that we understand that bulls gather quite a bit of weapons here and got all these bull troops to unite here and ate up a lot of bears real estate here. As you can see, as far as a down gap is concerned, when I say down gap, I really mean the gap that went down, right? That's what I mean when I say down gap. I don't mean like lower gaps. Okay, when I say down gap, I mean the gaps that came down. When I say up gap, I don't mean upper gaps. I meant that gap. It opened up. It closed here. It opened here. Therefore, that's an up gap. I know some of you guys had question about that. And bears did have a lot of down gaps. Bears had this down gap, this down gap, this down gap, this down gap. But as you can see, what happened this week, a lot of those down gaps were filled. And bulls opened up their own gaps. And now bears got this down gap, but bulls got 3 up gaps that they're working with. What she means is that bulls got a lot more firepower here. Bulls have a lot more. They've gathered a lot more bull troops here. And bulls are going after the Boss Bear Command Center that was established about a month ago. Boss Bears have retreated back to 560s, 560, 564. Bulls are gonna knock on that front door of that Boss Bear Command Center at 560 here pretty soon. I know that oscillator is at a max level at this extreme overbought level. But what's interesting about that oscillator is, as you can see, when that oscillator went, again, this is a top. That's the all-time high top here. We had a bearish divergence. But what happened was that oscillator get near to the overbought level. What we see is that oscillator quickly plunging down, right? And boom, 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 right? And not to mention, you can see here, there's a lot of spacing here. It doesn't stay there too long. You see that oscillator right here, right? That's what I call overbought zone. Above this dotted gray line there, it doesn't stay there too long. It sort of get there, and then bulls gave out. They can't push anymore. Bears come in. The bear troops start shooting the bulls down, and you see how quickly the oscillator just rolls back over very, very quickly. What's been happening though since late last week and this entire week here, after this thing hit that overbought, we saw the cross. The oscillator's been extremely adamant. You see how we get up, we pull back. Instead of rolling completely over, it actually crosses back up in the middle of its band, the oscillator band. It doesn't come all the way down back to the bottom of its band. And then it did it here, it did that here, it did that here 3 times. And in that process, the oscillator started creating these higher lows here and finding traction to the upside and being adamant about having that oscillator roll over and resetting them. So as you can see, the oscillator, only time that oscillator fully reset was on this downturn. And that was a heck of a downturn. Since then, with this move, oscillator fully resetted. And as you can see, that oscillator hasn't fully reset. So when I say full reset, I mean that oscillator, because that oscillator is still hovering at the top of its band. It hasn't come back down. That's the sort of the difference here when we see in the bear market or in the downtrend, bulls cannot stay up here at the overbought zone too long. But here, how long it stayed this entire week. And the bulls been pretty much gapping it up every single day.
Perfect.
And now that we hit that swing high here, that's the early August swing high. And that's the current resistance. We're just staying there a little bit and looking at that oscillator. It's still favoring the buyers. We don't know how long this thing can maybe pull back a little bit like it did here and just cross right back up and make another run higher. So just because that oscillator is at extreme overbought, it's not necessarily bearish. If you sort of study how it's been moving here in the last several days, right? And so market, we're sort of in this kind of a frenzy, the buying frenzy here. I think the buying frenzy really happens when there's that very the fear at its peak, right? People are scared to death, right? They're panic selling. Again, that's sort of what happened right here in early August or the early part of this month. And then all of a sudden markets start just making a move. Not only people are just panic buying, but these bears who heavily shorted anywhere in this vicinity, or maybe even shorting on the way up because they're expecting it to see lower highs and continue with the downtrend, they're forced to cover. So we got panic buyers coming in, buying this up, and then we got these sellers, short sellers, they are panic covering. And with that, we have whole lot of buying pressure that have established here, and we've been pretty much going vertical. I mean, if you look at your daily chart, you'll see how much of a vertical move this was in the last week or so. So I think matter of time, I think the bulls are going to get up there in 560s or so, and that will be the final battle with the boss bears. The final battle is gonna happen at 560 and 564, of course. You know, I think I can confidently say that as long as bulls can able to maintain this up gap right here, to protect this up gap, bulls will find a way to get up here and fill this down gap and completely dismantle this boss bear command center.